Hey guys, this is the FPL Tips team and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video. In today's video, we'll be discussing the forward section altogether and dividing them into two categories. Obviously, there's the premium category as well, but I don't think there's a debate out there. Anyways, welcome my co-host Akhilesh for this video. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Let's directly dive into it.
Yeah, let's
Today
dive
we are
into the
not gonna
video.
Today we're not going to talk too much about the big hitters and obvious forwards. Looking at a lot of the draft, there are three forward formations as well as two forward formations. While in the midfield category, there are quite a few midfielders to choose from, quite a few, historically proven midfielders to choose from. But on the other hand, in the forward line, to give company to Haaland, there are not too many. And also, it's a mix of ownership. There's no one obvious pick from these forwards. Jesus is the one who stands out because he plays as a striker for Arsenal. He has great fixtures to start off with, and he has a great potential to attack. I think his minutes also early on is secured until Europe comes and hits, and like there are a little bit of congestion of fixtures. I think his minutes are fairly given. We also saw Trossard playing at the midfield role, which is very interesting from the last preseason game. So Trossard might also not be directly a competition for each of Martinelli and Jesus. Towards the end of last season, we saw Trossard play into the Jesus role and Martinelli play his natural role. This season, we might see that again. We might see Trossard in the wing. We might see Trossard in the midfield. So it's not like Trossard is a threat only for one position, which is why I feel Jesus should be fairly nailed. And him along with Martinelli and Saka are like great options. Any Arsenal attacker is a great option. His numbers are good from last season. He didn't have too many minutes from there, as well as other two other strikers who are in this list, which is Darwin and Wilson, who were also at some point options last season. And Darwin this season looks a little bit more in confidence. Like his preseason start has been brilliant. He has actually so far taken for 5 shots, and all of them have been on target. He scored like 3 goals. He's growing a little bit more in confidence, but again, like we discussed with the other midfielders, attackers in Liverpool, minutes is a question. And a lot of people do think Gakpo is the one who suits Liverpool's attack more, although Darwin is the better goal threat. Gakpo holds things together almost like the false number 9 Firmino was playing. And that is something that should make a difference in Liverpool, whether Gakpo is playing or Darwin's playing, because well, whoever's playing, if you know for sure, they might end up becoming options. But coming to Darwin, at some point last season, he was really getting a lot of big chances and missing them. Hopefully, when that same passage of few fixtures when Darwin becomes an option and gets those big chances, he does. I think he scores more goals than last season, so he could become an option at some point. And with Wilson again, with every season, the same thing is his injury and his minutes. So when he's fit, fairly towards the end of the season, there was huge variance between Wilson and Isak. And Wilson clearly looked the better option. And I think at the start of the season also, when you look at the stats, even like Wilson clearly has much better numbers in every single matrix compared to Isak. And when both of them were playing, Isak was playing on the wing and Wilson was playing central. So Wilson is going to be the main option from Newcastle, who do have tricky fixtures to start off with. But when he's fit and given minutes, not too many European fixtures are also a point to note for Newcastle. Again, when the fixtures are free and not too congested, Wilson could become an option too at the same price bracket. So if you start with any of them, it's very easy to go to the other person also. But it's also very very interesting because there are quite a few different picks who could become good options. What do you think about the Chelsea lads? How are you feeling about them? Who's the better option?
So, like, I've been watching preseason a lot. I mean, if you look at this video in terms of Akhilesh will provide you the statistic point of view of things, and I've been watching a lot of football recently, so I'll be giving you the point of view of how preseason has been doing, how players have been playing in form, and etc. But more of the eye test. So when I look at Jackson and Nkunku, it's very obvious if Pochettino decides to play them together, Nkunku will take up the number 10 role, which I expect him to take irrespectively. I don't think he'll be playing out and out striker. That's not his natural position. Number 10 is probably what suits him more. And looking at how Jackson is playing, oh my god. I think that guy is meant for the Premier League. I can see him score at least 15 goals if he starts regularly in this season. And he looks the exciting pick out of the two. So in case you're looking for a player and you're okay with the punt, so you can go Jackson. Obviously, there's slight risk. Let's say if he doesn't end up starting game week 1, then you might want to sell him. I think, but it's fair enough. You have to take a chance on him. And Kunku is pretty much a safer pick, but also slightly less explosive as well, in my opinion. I think he could play number 10, and then that would reduce his, I think, explosivity or points output. Obviously, he's still very involved. He's there inside the box. He's taking shots. Jackson is a different gravy altogether. The man is shrugging shoulders. He's like dodging players. He's getting behind defenders. He has the pace. He has the shot ability, and more and over, he has form with him right now. So he's high on confidence and he's scoring goals almost every game for us. I personally am very interested and lured towards Jackson to start with him. Yes, there's always going to be a risk that he could be benched, he doesn't start, and in a 3-5-2 that could be a very tough situation. So I'm planning to go 3-4-3 with Jackson as my second striker, so that in case he's out, I think my fifth midfielder, which will be a playing midfielder, can sub in, and then I have a decent team to play for the next 2 game weeks. Game week 3, I will decide whether I want to keep Jackson or not. Also,
Yeah,
the
Jackson really sounds exciting because
yeah.
I mean I also saw glimpses of him and he can do everything. He can like link up and he's tall. He can make those runs. He's very fast. He's really popped out of the blue last season. He was not like a regular starter for Villarreal even, and suddenly he just came on, scored goals, and he's got the move to Chelsea, and he's not wearing the number 9 also, so which is something to.
Somewhat like a non-jinxing here, but no, I think genuinely, if you want to start with an explosive asset, you can go there. Although if you are somewhat like a manager who wants to play it safe, wants to save transfers, Nkunku can take up place, and then Jackson can happen in game week 3 when the fixtures turn around. I think if
Yeah,
I
but
can.
I think from game week 3, I think I'm sure one of these Chelsea assets should at least become an option because the fixtures are just very very good for the until game week 8. And if Chelsea shows glimpses of confidence and form and playing well under the new manager, Jackson, Nkunku, or even both could become options.
Yeah.
But let me deviate to another interesting pick, which is Watkins, who is, I mean, last season ticked along. But when you look at the stats in this, he is not matching the stats output of Jesus, Wilson, and Darwin, for example. And yeah, but two things with Watkins is he's not injury prone. He's very fit. He's the perfect man for Villa. He's currently their talisman. And towards the end of last season, he was actually much better. And the second reason is very linked because he's a talisman. He's gonna get 90 minutes every match. He doesn't have too much competition. So last season, in fact, Watkins has played 3,000 plus minutes, while Darwin, Jesus, and Wilson and Isak have all played somewhere around 2,000 minutes
2000
and below.
minutes, yeah.
So Watkins is always good, like he's always trusted. He's always going to be an option. I think their fixtures are great as well. So if there you needed an alternative for Jesus at the beginning, Watkins, I don't see why not, because
So
I think he's the main man for Aston Villa as well. So that's really a tempting option to go alternatively.
So if I had to put you on the spotlight, so now we don't have like an option plethora of choices. I think there are 3 spots. One is taken by Haaland. If we put 2 8 million strikers, that can be an option for some people, but then will hamper your midfield, which has better options right now. If you had to pick one of them, or let's say rank first and second preferences out of the list, who are those 2 preferences and why? Just before we you add into it, just a point on Watkins. If I remember, the fixtures for Watkins is not that bad. It's Newcastle, I think Everton, Crystal, Liverpool, something like
But
that.
yeah,
All of these teams, apart from Newcastle, are teams which concede goals. So that can be an option, but personally, I am still not very lured by Watkins. What are your top two then?
I mean, currently Jesus is in my draft, so Jesus is gonna be the top pick. But I'm really driven towards Martinelli. I think because there is that either Jesus and Mbumo or Martinelli and Jackson or like someone even cheaper. And for me, I want to see until at the beginning of the season whether Jackson does become like a serious option. And if he does become, then I'd lean towards going Jackson and Martinelli. But currently it's Jesus and Mbumo. So I think Jesus and Jackson are my two top picks because Jackson just looks central to what Chelsea have been doing so far, and he
Yeah.
just really looks really exciting. And at 7 million, he could be a very valuable pick. So those are my two picks.
Despite Darwin looking good and having the best stats, no love for Darwin for most of us, and I think he's a kind of a differential out there as well. But the problem with him is certain minutes. I think Gakpo does not start over him. Darwin is still very key to Liverpool's attack, how they want to recently play. But I don't think he's making to any one of our drafts this like at the start of the season at least. Very few people will own him, and he's obviously nobody on.
I'd actually disagree with you on that because I really think Gakpo will start because he's
Okay.
making everything happen. And I think he's been one of the best players for Liverpool in preseason so far. Very short preseason, but he's still been one of the best players. Klopp has tried him in a bunch of different positions. He's drifted wide when he's been playing also. And he really looks like the person who can just get control of the ball, drive with the ball, dribble in, and play those passes. And when Salah and Diaz are your white men, you just need to give them the space they need. And I think so at the beginning, at the start, Gakpo just takes it because he also ended last season on a high. So that's why I'm leaning towards Gakpo at the start. But Darwin could surely become an option, and when he does get more minutes, he's going to be a much more dangerous pick because now there's Sobosla is also there, and towards the end, Trent in that inverted was just creating chance after chance for
Yeah,
whoever was the attacker,
and
which included Darwin. So I think he's going to get a lot more service than last season, which means I think he's going to get a little more chances also, and with little more confidence, he can just score a lot more goals.
also just to add, like even Jota could take up that position. So there's pretty much decent competition for Darwin, and one bad game and you're out of the team again. Klopp has been very like, despite him being a very big signing for the club, very like in fee value terms, he's been on the bench for a while now. So there is no
Yeah,
necessity that Klopp will. Yeah,
towards the end of last season, I think Darwin properly became like the bench player. He
yeah, yeah.
didn't get too much starts, and which means that Klopp is still wants to see that something from him
Yeah, and Klopp
to
is
bring
very
him back
off.
into the team.
Like Klopp is completely obsolete of the fact that he's a fee player. He doesn't really care about it. He wants to see performances, and I think if Darwin doesn't perform, he will be subbed out again and benched again. So that's slightly of a risk again. So the top two for now for us is Jesus, Jackson at the moment. Wilson Isaac. The problem I have, I've been looking up preseason as well. It's still when Wilson plays, he's the better player. Isaac is also taking decent positions, but again, the first four fixtures for Newcastle are not the best. So you can still start with a certain Wilson because he's fit, he's played preseason, he will be on penalties. But again, I think there are explosive options out there which have easier fixtures. Jesus, maybe because of the fact that Arsenal, but I still prefer Martinelli and Saka as my top two and combination from Arsenal attack.
Agreed.
Third is Jesus if you want to go there into like if you can't fit a formation with Martinelli and Saka, I think Jesus is third option and then you can go that side. Jackson again, the explosive, exciting pick. We both have been recommending him. Watkins, as we discussed, he's sort of a lukewarm pick for me. He's decent. There are certain fixtures to it, but again, I want to see more from Aston Villa where they can score at least two plus goals, almost like 2 3 games.
Yeah,
Uh,
he'll just tick along and he's not going to score like those braces, and the
Braces,
foul
yeah.
potential is very less for Watkins. Historically, also it's been, but he's really very consistent performer who's always scoring one goal at least every alternative game. So that's really important with respect to a striker who you need to count on. So and on last season towards the end he was almost a template pick at one point when he also had the double game week. So I mean at some point Watkins will surely become a very solid option, and at 8 I think it's not too expensive also. It's like the same price bracket we are talking about. So it's not going to be very difficult to jump on them.
Okay. I think that's more or less about the 7 to 8 million forwards. I think if you had to pick Jesus, Jackson, maybe some love for Darwin if you want to go differential extremely if you want to have a Liverpool player. But again, there is huge minutes risk revolving around him, and you might be in a situation where he's not starting beyond like certain game week, and then you might have to sell him off. Although
I
again,
have a
it's very easy to
question.
switch, but again, that's a problem you'll have to deal with.
I have a question. If you knew that Gakpo is starting for sure, would you go with him? Given, I mean, maybe not early on in the fixtures, but given a good fixture run, you know Gakpo is going to start for sure. And sort of, you know that either Diaz or Jota is going to play on the wing and Salah is going to play. And you know that you understand that Gakpo's minutes is secured. That means
Okay.
will you jump on Gakpo
No,
at some point?
no. And my reason for not jumping on him is only one, which is a very tactical reason that Liverpool play him with. That he's not, his role is not to go inside the box and shoot, or maybe go inside the box or drift a man. His role is to drop deep or maybe drift wide to take away players. And it's pointless in FPL because he's a very good player for Liverpool, but ultimately he'll not get us enough points, and that is why I wouldn't not invest in him. I don't have Trent. If that's the case, I would reduce one of the forwards and buy Trent in that case and that scenario in a good fixture run, but not Gakpo for sure.
Agreed.
I mean, I know you're a guy like you admire him, but unfortunately, I will not go that side and route
No, I
because
mean, I just wanted to throw that question because Gakpo could become an option at some point. A Liverpool forward is always appealing.
yeah,
So
it is, yeah.
there would be questions around Gakpo if you know he's starting. So suppose you're watching after game week one, Gakpo plays against Chelsea and maybe gets an assist or a goal, then
There
it's a
will be
different
people
conversation
who are,
that
yeah,
Gakpo has started and he could be an option. You see an option in the longer run also.
Not for
That's
me
why
personally. Not my gravy. I don't like players who drop deep and are not closer to the goal.
who are not gained. But yeah.
Yeah, and I had another point regarding the Liverpool team. Even in the preseason, I noticed something where Gakpo did the same thing, and he's drifting wide more generally, which is putting Diaz inside. I think that's also something you can take note of. Just another question, since we are on this topic, there is a dilemma: a two forward formation or a three forward formation. What are you leaning towards, and why?
Currently, it's a two forward formation because I just think the options in the midfield is far better, far more reliable, and the five midfielders is the way to go at the beginning. But I'm not too against the three forward formation too because uh, I think I'm sure one of at least Darwin, Jackson, and Kunku will become a serious option. And if you also want to have one of Jesus and Watkins alongside as the other option, and that means having a three forward formation is viable. But the other way to get to the three forward formation, which when we can just move on to the 6.5
Yeah.
million or below forwards, is getting one of these fairly like sub 6 million options if you want to have a Salah draft or a Trent draft.
Yeah, so I'll take it
And
from here
yeah,
because I am very pro on the three forward draft at the moment. I am always usually a three forward draft person, and I like it because usually teams have like high scoring at the start. The forwards are very involved. You don't know which midfield option, how will tactics will form. It's very obvious football is played on that side, and centrally a player is very involved. I and generally now when we have a dilemma, I have someone like a Haaland as my first forward. Second is either Jesus or Jackson, depending or Nkuku, whether I take a punt or not. And the third I think is Visa. And when you look at his stats in comparison to Buemo, it's not that bad. And I think Visa is zero point 0.5 cheaper as well, and it's from the same player. He is the central man, and that is why I'm more tempted to go into a 3-4-3 formation. Yes, it could go bad, and I might have to sell Visa, but again, I know he's guaranteed for minutes. So even in the worst case, I can hold on to him for like a couple of more games, and I can play it out.
when you can come to the 6.5 million and below option for forward options, the only thing that puts me off Visa is the options around, and
Okay.
it makes you to move to remove Visa and go to an Embomo. Whereas in that 6.5 bracket, there is Embomo, there's March Mitoma,
Yeah.
and there is a possibility of Eze also coming up and Buendia also coming up because there's like a lot of options. Zero point 0.5 more will get you to a Sterling and maybe one of the I mean zero point
Sancho is
0.5
there. I
million
think Sancho is
will come.
7.7 million.
Yeah, there are a few options. Sancho, Richarlison, all of them could
Yeah,
emerge as
Richarlison is becoming an option too. Yeah.
yeah, if Kane leaves.
Yeah.
So there is that 7 million where there are a few options. So I just see that there are too many options in the midfield for me to move my structure to forward. If it was three forwards where it was like the other two forwards other than Haaland are at the 7 to 8 million price bracket, then I wouldn't mind, to be fair. But I still feel the five midfield is more structurally balanced, and that's where I'd like to begin with. That's why I'm just little bit nudging towards that
No, when you
at the
mention it, it does hit me and strike me like, okay, in case the 6.5 million forward does go bad, I don't have an option to. Let's say there's an injury to Visa, I have no option or place to go, other than selling him, downgrading him to a 4.5 million and upgrading my midfield. I don't have much
So
options.
that's again two moves.
Yeah.
And which brings us to the 6.5 forward options. There are not too many. I mean, I'm very skeptical about all of these guys. And the only exciting players, two of them over here, are Visa and Pedro. And Visa is the one who's more nailed. Pedro, we are not really sure. He's
Not sure
had
the.
a
Yeah.
decent preseason. Can play as 10, can play as a winger, can play as winger on both sides, can play as a striker. But the one thing is I mean, I'm not sure how much you can judge from his stats in the his underlying stats in the championship, but it was not like anything to be like feeling great about. He had 11 goals and 2 assists, which is fine, but not someone who's just caught your eye. And yeah, I don't know. He's not still had like a breakthrough season. He's been around for like 2 3 years in Watford, and people have spoken highly about him. And didn't break through as like I mean he was great last season, but didn't break through as the exciting player there. He's come into Brighton, and who knows how De Zerbi will be using him. He could bring out the potential in the lad, which is clearly visible. And that's why I mean he could be an option again at some point. But at the beginning, I'm just very skeptical about Pedro as well. One is rotation, and the other is he ready to be that performer which
Yeah.
he
And
has the potential for.
just to add, like as what I've observed or Deserby, even with NCSO or maybe someone like a Ferguson, he's taken his time to involve them into the team and give them consistent starts. He does not do that really straightforward. Pedro could be an
Yeah, and
like
randomly one more
different
option
case.
goes up from Brighton as well.
Yeah, and also like there is some news regarding March injury. I'm not very confident and sure about that, but there is some news floating around that he's not been a part of the team and he's not been playing because he's carrying some injury. In that case, I think Pedro starts. But again, that's a very short-term stint, and I don't know how long will he start. Pedro, I think if every one of the first 11 of last season is available, Pedro does not start. I think he'll come on as a sub, and he looks like a player who's an impact sub for now. And I think De Zerbi will use him in that sense. Even Ferguson, I don't see a lot of people are going towards him. I'm not sure if he starts. I think Welbeck is still pretty much solid on that position, and
He's
De
had a
Zerbi
decent
likes him.
season.
Yeah, and he's got the experience as well in the Premier League. I think he's the one who's first choice to start for Brighton if they at all start with a striker.
And one more thing you mentioned about Pedro going to the right wing, and at this point, I'm not really sure. He could be versatile,
But
but
yeah,
with March as like a right winger, I'm not sure if that probably even further minimizes his
appeal to me.
impact at
Yeah,
the
and
top.
I agree. And it's he's a very exciting player. So we're not downgrading the player because what I've seen in the preseason is good. He's very sharp. He's fast. But again, he's not a proven asset in Premier League, and I think Deserby knows that he will take his time to involve him in the first 11.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. I
Um,
think there's Alvarez DCL. DCL, I think, is a player who will start. He's another option some people were considering when the game was launched. And when you look at the FDR, you'll understand reasonably why. Everton have Fulham, Villa, Wolves, Sheffield in the first four. So a lot of people were considering DCL, but again, Everton don't look like the team who want to attack in the preseason. I don't think that we've seen anything exceptional from Everton in the preseason so
Yeah,
far.
I really don't know what to make out of Everton at this point with Sean Dyche as their manager. I think they'll be decent defensively, but I'm not sure how DCL will be. A couple of seasons back, if DCL was 6 million, he would have been proper template.
Yeah.
But he's not played a lot of football in the last 2 years, and he looked a little rusty towards the end of last season. Depends. I mean, preseason, I'm not sure he's been very involved as well. Have you been following DCL in the preseason?
No,
Because I have
I've
not.
not been following Everton because like I don't think they've made to the news as well. I don't. They've played one game before this right now, and
Yeah.
nothing really to make out of that, like comes out or stands out from that game or anyone in Everton at all. And the problem is, I think, is the difference in philosophy. Sean Dyche usually was a defense first manager, and now he's trying to attack. So there's a transition phase that's going on in Everton, and that is why I'm not very comfortable jumping on DCL as my first 11 player this season.
When you look at the three strikers or at the 6.5 million, I think they are decent shouts at some point, but I think that point 0.5 million is a bit too much. Alvarez, surely when you know Haaland is not going to play if he's injured, and or at some point you see De Bruyne is injured and you see Alvarez playing as a shadow striker, and if you have a City spot, and I think Alvarez is going to get more minutes as each season goes by. So this season he's surely going to get more minutes than last season. And he was fairly decent last season. Was not too great when he was. I mean, his expected goals is decent, not very great, not too bad as well. And I think a lot of he will become a template if there is a guarantee that he'll start for a few games. So he's one to keep an eye on. But the other 6.5s are Avoni and Solanke. Avoni towards the end of last season had a good few run of games, scored a few goals. But again, like the fixtures, I think are very bad at the start. They play City away, or Arsenal away, United away, Chelsea away, and City away or something, which is not no go for me at this point.
Yeah, I'll just bring
But
up the FPR as well. Yeah, it's
yeah,
Arsenal,
if
Sheffield
he does
United,
settle
Chelsea. Yeah,
down and can like Forest look good, then alongside Gibbs White, Awoni could become an option if there are like a good run of fixtures. So surely again one to keep an eye on. He didn't really play too much at the beginning of last season. Initially started, then lost his place in the team, which does happen when you are not consistent in a champion, like in a bottom half Premier League team. But I think for Union Berlin, he did have a great season, and he is capable of being that man who is going to score a lot of goals for them. So I think about again 10 to 15 goals can be expected from him, but surely no go at the beginning of the season.
yeah.
Solanke, I'm looking at his stats and I think they are very bad. But you don't know what
Despite
to
him being a
expect
template option
because
last season, like not
yeah,
template option, but
he was
there
a
was a
template
period.
option, but also overperformed. He did score like a few goals and assists. He was like, um, I mean, he did get like there were a few owners with Solanke who just went because he had good fixtures or double game weeks,
Yeah,
and he just delivered at some point. Got a couple of assists, got a couple of very dodgy assists, got has scored a penalty or two, and he just like ticked along sometime in the middle, which was okay. But I don't think I think he clearly overperformed last season. But this season it could be a different Bournemouth, and if they are little more open, little more attacking, everything will go through Solanke because he's still their main man. He's gonna be their number nine. He's on penalties, and he's both he's a little creative and also tries to take shots. And in that sense also, if Bournemouth do start creating more chances, don't sit back and create as little chances that they did last year, then again he could be an option to consider. But again, 6.5 I think is a little 0.52 more. Probably
yeah,
based on last season, it should be it is correctly priced. But with the other price structures, I think it's a 0.52 more. So I'm not sure if he'd be an option soon as well. With the ones remaining, Morris is the championship striker last season at Luton. He was their talisman pretty much. Penalties, he had I think 20 goals and 6 assists in the championship last season, which is decent. Nothing. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's decent from the championship last season. And he was crucial to bringing Luton up. I mean, for 5.5, I thought at some point when I was looking through the drafts, I thought 5.5 is actually a good price. If Pookie was 5.5 2 years, 3 years back, I would have considered taking him. So that similar vibes is coming with Morris, and they do have. I mean, they have a blank in the second, but they do have a few good fixtures after that. If he does emerge as an option, scores like 2, 3 goals in his first 3, 4 games, then who knows? At 5.5, I think he becomes a really exciting pick also. But I mean, I at this point, I don't think many of these 6.5 forwards are options, which is why I think Visa is a decent shout. But I wouldn't be going there because
Yeah, because of
I
the
really
structure
don't fancy that
formation. Yeah,
price bracket and the options over there. So
yeah, and
yeah, I think
also
that's
with Morris, I just want to add a point. Luton are still not very Premier League proven. They're a team who can score goals, but again, I would like to see some games of Luton playing in the Premier League, how they adapt to the league, because it's actually a level different between the Championship and the Premier League.
yeah, and I've not seen much of Luton.
Luton play
I
as
mean,
well,
never
so
seen
yeah,
Luton in the Premier
yeah,
League. Not seen much of Luton play with the better sides, and should be interesting to see how they catch up with the quality of the Premier League.
yeah,
One to watch.
so we've ranked these forwards in case you want to. It's Visa, Calvert Lewin, Alvarez, Solanke, Pedro, Ioni, and Morris. I think we have ranked them due to minutes, primarily due to minutes, because that's a very big concern in this category, and then due to respective stats and form as well. I think Visa makes it first, Calvert Lewin, then Alvarez third, only because of his reduced minutes, and so because he will get minutes, I think we are expecting some minutes. Solanke is fourth because purely the difference between Alvarez and Solanke in terms of stats is too much. Pedro, fifth again, we don't know when minutes. Ioni has minutes, but again, not sure. Still not sure because there's Chris Wood still at the club. I don't know if Chris Wood will start this one or
Even Dennis is there, right?
Dennis is there. Yeah, there's a lot of forwards in Nottingham Forest.
Saraj is also
Yeah,
there.
I don't
There
know
are
who will
a few
start.
forwards. Johnson can play as a sole number
Yeah,
nine, which is there. But I'm pretty confident Tony will start as the number nine, and if not, Nottingham Forest are doing fairly well, he'll
he'll
continue to
continue.
be as their. I think he is clearly their first choice, but with a team that are projected to be battling with relegation this year also. It can always he can always lose his minutes. Some other striker they might try, might come. So all these experimenting will be there. So I'm not sure if he's a long-term nailed option, but I
Yeah.
think at the initial games he'll start, but he doesn't have great fixtures at all, which is why I think he's sixth. And Morris is surely an unknown, and plays for a club who might find it
I
challenging
mean, we'll
to
have
get
to wait and
up to the
watch with
bottom.
Luton. Yeah, I think.
Just have to wait. Yeah.
And we'll just move out to the most interesting and expected session, discussion of the topic that everyone's probably waiting for, which is the premium forward. And I think the answer everyone has the answer. It's Haaland. Despite Kane having certain stats better, which is the chances created stats, but I don't think there's a debate out here. And especially with Kane leaving out, I think that's the only aspect we need to probably discuss between Haaland and Kane. I have seen some Haaland plus Kane drafts as well, which seem tempting to me, but again, I'm not really interested going that side. What do you think about it? I don't think in between the two there's a debate, but about Haaland plus Kane as a draft, and if Kane leaves, what do you think?
Kane last season ticked along really well. He was a solid option, and he in fact scored only like 9 points less than Haaland last season
Yeah,
throughout the season, which is very good. I mean, surprisingly, a lot of people are not even like looking to consider him at the start of this season. Which, if you do consider Salah, I think you should consider Kane also.
yeah, that's
That's
fair.
really where it is with respect to Kane. But really not sure if he's gonna leave or not. It's been like either initially I thought he'd leave, then I thought he'll stay, then I'm thinking he'll leave. But if he does stay, I think similar to Salah and Haaland drafts, you can look at Kane Haaland drafts also. If you find an enabler of 5.5 going valuable at yeah at some some position, and but I think Kane has better fixtures than Salah also, and in under a new manager, I think Kane could continue just doing fairly well as well. I think he'll get 25 plus goals this season also. And if Son is a little more confident and finishes to the level he is used to, then he might get in a few assists also. Because
Yeah,
last season Kane had, I think, 2 assists or 3 assists, which is very low compared to his standards for the last 4 or 5
previous few
seasons,
seasons,
where
yeah.
he's been doing very well with passing as well. So I mean I feel Kane could just be that second option if you don't want to go to Salah. But as we've discussed before, with the structures having those 3 to 4 or even 5, 8 to 9 million priced midfielders or forwards is more viable and gives you more solid structure to your team. So that's why Kane is an avoid.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, let's go wait and watch, see if Kane is going to play in the Premier League and what it means with Kane, what it means with players around him. Is just I don't like not in. I don't know what to predict as of now. Let's wait and watch that.
Yeah.
Haaland, just let's like talk 10 seconds about him. Just don't
Just for the
even
sheer
think about
respect of
anything else.
Haaland, yeah.
Don't even think about anything else. Just go. 14 million is totally worth it, and just put the armband on him. The first 5 6 fixtures are just really good, and you really don't want to like fall in ranks just because you don't captain Haaland.
Yeah.
So just obvious thing saying again, Haaland is just very close to essential. If there's anything essential ever being understood, I think it's Haaland now. But
Okay, I
yeah,
think that wraps up the premium forward discussion as well, and overall the forward discussion. I think our top three consensually would be Haaland, then Jesus slash Jackson, and Visa if you have to go three formation, or just stick to two formation because we prefer that overall. Or Achilles
if I
prefers that.
go three, I'd go Haaland, Jesus, and Jackson.
Jackson, okay. Perfect. I think that wraps up this segment. I think we've discussed almost every forward. In case you have any other questions that we did not answer or which were left unanswered, please mention them down in the comment section below. And if you're watching us for the first time, do hit the subscribe button as well. Please hit the like button too. Any other last words, Akhilesh?
Yeah, I mean, two striker formation looks the more viable
Preferred one.
way, and I think a lot of exciting forwards have the potential to emerge at some point. So it will be really interesting from how my forward cycle throughout the season goes. I'll be starting with Jesus. I think Darwin, Jackson, and Kuku are all options at some point, and I like the list of 7 to 8 million forwards who will keep one of them will
Switching
keep
around,
occupying
yeah.
throughout the season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to these forwards and quite excited about them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it will be a good 2 weeks till now when the Premier League launches, and I think Achilles will try convincing me to switch back to a two forward formation from a three forward formation, and I'll try vice versa. But until then, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you, guys.